Coming at you live from all over Ohio. A Cleveland Browns podcast full of laughs, rants, fun, and stats. A place where all Browns fans' voices are welcome and heard. A show that aims to inform and entertain you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Barking Browns Show.
Tuesday, what the? I did not see. Let's
go.
That is the most authentic response you will ever see in a podcast, because neither of us saw him put that on. And he did not. And we have all of the background videos available to us. We just did not see him.
Nope. Just didn't.
So, welcome into episode 126 of the Barking Brown Show. I'm Jacob. That's Nick. That's Darth Kinnaman at the bottom.
Darth Kinnaman.
You, as always, by our friends over at Homage Apparel. Check them out. Link down in the description down below. The best apparel company on the business. Go check out Homage today. They got a lot of good stuff. Cavs season kicking up. Go down there. Check that out. Get yourself ready to go. Gentlemen, how are we this fine Tuesday?
You know what? Better than I thought it'd be. I was pretty upset today when the Browns, and I know we'll get into it, but we're getting feedback.
Are we getting feedback?
Okay, I think we're good. But that's okay. We're here. We're still 4-3. We're going to talk about all of it. I'm honestly surprised. I know we'll get into that, but better than I thought it'd be. How about you, Casey? What's up?
Doing good, man. It's Halloween. I just got done passing out candy to some children in the neighborhood. And now I get to talk about my favorite team. So everything's love, man. Everything's love. How you guys doing?
You're a multitasker, man. Last week was your anniversary. This week you're passing out candy. You're just a man of many talents over here.
I changed a battery right before that. My wife was stranded.
Where'd you go?
There you go. Car battery. There
Wow.
we go. There we go. I like Mitch getting in on the action, a little party on Darth.
Yeah.
That is a great reference right there. Those are two of my favorite things to put them in.
Jacob has a steel Mew.
I have a Mew. I have this Mew. That's a metal. Look at him. That's another Mew, and that's a Mew too, but that's my metal Mew. I like my metal Mew. He's cool. It's from the 151 packs, if anybody's curious. All right. So I'm good, because when going into this trade deadline, I wasn't really expecting too much. I kind of hoped that I'd be pleasantly surprised by a move, I think is where I was. I don't think they were ever going to make a splashy move. And I don't even really think most people that are upset that they didn't make a splashy move. I think it's just some people are really concerned about exactly what we talked about last week and exactly what we're going to talk about this week, and that's the quarterback position. And that goes into what we're talking about, in the title of this episode, that Kevin Stefanski is not the problem. I'm not saying that Kevin Stefanski is perfect. By absolutely no measures is Kevin Stefanski perfect. There are plenty of situational play calling and clock management things and inability to adjust from time to time. That there's plenty of that. He's not the best coach in the NFL. He's not top 5, but he's probably, I'll go out there and say he's borderline top 10 at least. I think he's somewhere in that range. That's firmly where I think he is now. Can he ever be better than he is right now? That's a great question. I'm not really sure. But I wanted to talk about that. Let's do the trade deadline stuff first. So we'll do the trade deadline stuff first. And then we can, because I know Nick wants to say his piece about it. And I'll give you the floor, Nick, and then Casey, any thoughts you have on the trade deadline, and then I'll wrap up the trade deadline, and then we can kind of get into some more of the meat and potatoes of what we want to talk about tonight.
Okay, I appreciate that, because now I'm not gonna lie, I'm disappointed, because I thought, obviously when you're in the situation the Browns are in, I'm not trying to disrespect PJ Walker, because the Browns are 2-1 with him, but I firmly believe that wins are not a quarterback stat; they're a team stat.
He's been awful.
Yeah, the Browns are winning despite him. The PJ's had a couple of nice plays that have come in key moments, and I got to give him his credit for that. He has, but the Browns are winning despite him. And I think that when you're looking at that, obviously you're in a tough situation because this whole Deshaun thing, it's still like Mary Kay Cabot interviewed today with the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, and where she was adamant a week ago that Deshaun was not going to go on an IR. Today she seemed a little less certain. I don't know if everybody's seen that interview, but she seemed a little less certain. That basically kind of cracked the door open that like IR could maybe be a possibility. I don't think she gave a ton of credence to it, but here's my point. If you knew, so some people have tried to positively spin the fact that the Browns didn't trade for a quarterback today and said, well, this obviously means that the Browns are confident that Deshaun's going to be back soon and that he's going to be healthy and that they can move forward with him. And I could buy that if we hadn't gone through this tumultuous week to week changing narrative of Deshaun's hurt. How severe is he hurt? He's not that hurt. Now he's severely hurt and he's going to be out multiple weeks. It's like, on a week-to-week basis, the way that they've treated this injury, the way that they framed it, and the narrative surrounding it has rapidly changed. And so, to me, I just don't have the faith that the Browns have not given us a reason to be faithful and say, okay, they didn't trade for a quarterback, so clearly they know he's healthy, because I don't think they fully know what his situation is, because if they did, they wouldn't have handled it. They wouldn't have gone this back and forth. They would have said from the beginning, he's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks or whatever. And that just would have been it, but that's not what they did. And so obviously there's some miscommunication. There maybe there's a disconnect, however you want to frame that. And so when you're looking at it now, I'm saying to myself, the Browns are in an all-in season. The Browns are in a playoff or bust situation. You're looking at a place where if they fall short, I'm confident Stefanski at least will get fired. I'm not sure about the rest of the guys. I'm hoping Andrew Berry would not. But basically, jobs are at risk, right? Everything is on the line this season. And if you are going to continue to be unsure about where Deshaun's at, and that's not even to say, is he going to be 100% healthy this year? I just think Jacoby Brissett makes so much sense because he's already been in this offense, because you've seen him be successful. I know obviously you'd had to make some tweaks because year to year the offense has changed. I understand that. But it just seems like Jacoby's like this ultimate insurance policy to me, where even if, because see, when you don't trade for a quarterback, now the pressure is you're 4-3. Okay, I get it. You could probably trot PJ Walker out there and have a reasonable chance to beat Arizona.
You better. You better be able to trot out. You better be able to trot out whoever is on your roster. And I'll make the case for why DTR should start this week later on. Okay. But you better, that's all I got to say. You better be able to walk. Yeah. You are looking at Clayton fucking Tune on the other side. You better be able to go out quota. You better be able to, you know what? I almost hit the quota at the beginning because of Darth Kinnaman. I wasn't ready for that. But so, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you better.
Okay. You better. But so let's just take that a little bit for granted for a second and say the Browns do beat Arizona. Well, now the pressure is on, because you're not putting PJ Walker out there and realistically saying, okay, we're gonna go to Baltimore and we're gonna beat them. That's not. I'm not gonna rose-colored glasses that. So now, because you did not trade for a quarterback, the pressure is 100% on Deshaun to be ready and 100% ready to compete with the 6-2 Baltimore Ravens, who are a buzzsawing their way through the NFL right now. And that is a pressure point, because with the way the Browns have handled the injury, I have no idea if Deshaun's going to be anywhere near 100%. So it just seemed like if you trade for Jacoby Brissett, not only is he the quick answer that you can plug into your offense and you can have him quicker than up to speed than anybody else, but then all of a sudden, maybe the pressure eases off Deshaun. Okay, if you're not 100% healthy, we can still keep the ship afloat with Jacoby Brissett, because we've seen him keep at least the offense afloat. I understand the team record wasn't good with Jacoby, but I think the improvements around him would give you to me, the Browns have a chance to win every week with Jacoby Brissett. And so now, because you didn't, now the pressure is on immediately, because you've got Baltimore and Pittsburgh, and the rest of your schedule, the rest of your season really hinges on this Baltimore-Pittsburgh game. And so that's why I'm so disappointed, because you are 100% pressure, full tilt. You got to be ready for Baltimore, which is a terribly difficult place for the Browns to play. And that's why I'm disappointed, because I just think now the back is up against the wall. Deshaun has to be healthy. They have no other option. So we're going to see what happens with that. I'm nervous. I'm hopeful, but I'm nervous.
Well, that nervous comes from the uncertainty. And this thing's just shrouded in it. Like, they have fumbled this at every turn. So even if they were to tell you that Deshaun's going to be healthy, you can't believe them, because they have not had their hand on the pulse of this injury the entire time. He should have been IR. That should have already happened. Yeah. They should have already hit the market earlier, before it was the deadline, when people were trying to squeeze him. And the audacity of the Commanders to ask the same prices for Jacoby as they did Chase Young. They were trying to rake AB over the coals. Yep. And say what you want about AB. I think of all the facets of everything he does, he's the best at trades.
Yeah,
like that is. I think that's what he not every trade's a hit, but if you look over time, he's gotten great value for the vast majority of all of his trades. He wasn't going to get raked over the coals. So to then ask a third, that's very steep for someone you're only going to have for however long, and all their eggs are in the Deshaun bucket. So if Deshaun does get healthy, I don't care if Jacoby's on a roll, they got to start Deshaun. It's a weird position. And then there's a power struggle. It just got messy. Now I wanted, if Jacoby was gettable, get him. It turns out he wasn't. And I was on a Sports for CLE earlier, and Dave Bacon said he would have given up a 6. You could have talked me into a 5th. They got 2 of them. You could have talked me into that. But they're moving forward the way that it is. I'm with you. They better be able to play whoever and beat Arizona. But this is the same Arizona team that took it to Dallas. You know?
Yeah.
I know that wasn't Clayton Tune. But Clayton Tune was taken with the 139th pick. Do you guys know who the 140th pick was? DTR.
Oh.
Okay.
I don't math well. I was
I didn't tell you guys it'd be math. That's my fault. Yeah, I mean, so this kid's got skills. When I was like looking at late day quarterbacks for the Browns going into the draft, I looked at Tune. Man, Tune's a crazy good athlete. He had insane production because he went to Houston, and that's just what they do. Is just have ridiculous production. But he's a big boy. He can move. He can pull down with his feet. He can do some things. You know, you can't just roll your helmet out there and expect to beat any NFL team. So
no,
you need this defense to be on it. But if this same defense that played against San Francisco plays against this Arizona team, that's tough sledding for Arizona, you know. But like just the trade deadline in general. Last year on the trade deadline, 14 players got traded and 20 picks on the trade deadline. I was expecting some similar movement. We saw some movement, but this isn't the NBA, man. There's not a lot of big splash. Don't get me wrong. Chase Young's a pretty big fish in that pond. Montez Sweat's a pretty big fish. You saw some movement. Just it didn't go the Browns' way. And I think the biggest thing is you want to believe that you're a team of consequence and that you're looking to get better. So you're wanting to be a buyer in that market. Turned out you were a seller. Like the exact opposite of kind of what the mindset is going into a trade deadline for a fan. You know, so I'm sure we'll get into that too. DPJ is no longer a member of the Cleveland Browns and the implications that'll have, but an uneventful trade deadline for us. You didn't get better today. I can say that assuredly. You did not get better. And for that reason, it is disappointing.
For me, it was kind of just like, I was just like, well, that sucks. Like, that's kind of where I was. Like, it just in terms of my overall reaction was just like, yeah, I wish there was a few things I wished. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, I wished they would have potentially gotten, a better quarterback. I did want a plethora of guys. And of course, our Taylor Heineke dream probably died on Sunday when he came in and started playing. They finally benched Ritter and put him in. And I was like, shit.
I thought Casey.
You can ask Casey. We were texting immediately. I was pissed. I was like, are you going to be kidding me? I was very upset. I was very upset with that situation. But like, I get it though, was my reaction. Like, I get it. It's exactly what you said, Casey. Like, that was a great point in terms of like, no matter what, if Watson is healthy this year, and I'm done trying to figure it out. I'm not going to until I see him on the field throwing the football. I don't expect him until I see him on the field Sunday. I don't, on a Sunday, not this Sunday. Until he is on the field for a game throwing the football, I'll believe it when I see it in terms of he'll return to the field. I'm not even talking about the level of play he brings when he gets there. Just I'll believe it when I see it that he's actually on the field and playing. But I do believe he plays again. I strongly believe, like some people think this will drag out and he'll never play again this year. I don't think that's the case. And because I don't think that's the case, I get the move, or the lack thereof of moves, is you're under this thing. I talked to my dad about this on Monday. You were under this thing no matter what. Like no matter what, you were under this thing with Watson because of the contract. Because here's the thing, people will say, well, but you gave up all those picks and this and that. The 49ers proved giving up picks for a player like they did in Trey Lance doesn't matter. If you think it's time to move on, you move on. You got to hit, on like a Brock Purdy, but it's not the picks that really put the Browns in this position. It's the contract, because it's not cuttable. And if it's not cuttable, that means somebody has got to take it on. And when somebody has to take on a contract like that, because trading is the only, you know what I mean? Like trading him is the only way he's not in Cleveland until 3 years, until what is it, like 28 or whatever it is. That means you don't have the power in that situation, especially because he has a no trade clause. So like you're really put in a position where it's like you can't cut him. And because of that, it just didn't make that much sense. And that's kind of what I had tried to say. And Nick and I,
Yeah.
and Casey, we'd had these conversations, but I still get being disappointed because we just don't know. And we don't know when we don't know when we will see him. And we don't know what it'll look like. Is it going to be Tennessee? Like we keep talking about that, but Tennessee was over a month ago. It was 6-7 weeks ago now in terms of him playing well on the field. Because we keep saying that. Last time you saw him, he was really good. That was September 24th.
But what did I say right after that game? I said, we can't be sitting here a month from now saying, yeah, but he played well in Tennessee.
Yep.
And sure as shit, here we are.
Yep.
Like that is
but we're saying it for a different reason because he got hurt.
It's still the thing, man. It's still that can't be the high watermark for his efforts.
Right.
That's got to be the bar. That can't be like that one game in Tennessee, because if you go, when we first took on this contract, when we first came in, you expected elite play, everyone across the board. You got yourself a top 5 quarterback. That's the mindset. Our bars have been so lower that we're like, just give us adequate. Just give me slightly above average. And then I think we're like, just because of what we've gotten in return so far, we would have to be happy with it.
Yeah. I mean, if he goes out there and like, he wouldn't even have to be as good as Tennessee as he was in Tennessee, and we'd be happy because that's where we are.
Yeah.
That's just, and that's where this team is. And that's why I'm so completely frustrated. I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to say it because here we are. This is how our show goes. Our show goes where we just talk. So we're just going to keep talking.
Well,
go ahead, Nick. Go ahead.
I just want to say, the 49ers dug themselves out of the Trey Lance situation because of Brock Purdy. And I know they've hit some bumps in the road recently, but, largely that they have been winning a ton of games. And I don't know where they'd be without Brock because they gave up all those picks to get Trey Lance, and that didn't work out. And obviously, the money with Deshaun's guaranteed. You're paying Deshaun way more money than Trey Lance on a rookie contract. I understand that. But just in disaster scenario where you say to yourselves, maybe Deshaun's just not mentally right. Maybe he's not physically right. I don't know. I'm just playing disaster, worst case scenario, because that's basically what we've gotten so far outside of the Tennessee game, right? At least if you had Jacoby Brissett, you could say to yourselves, well, somebody else on this roster is going to give us competent QB play, because that is not you do not have that option outside of Deshaun as currently constructed right now. And that terrifies me because the Browns are backed against the wall. If Deshaun doesn't play well, oh man. Oh, and it's like you were just saying to yourselves in Tennessee, oh, well, finally, maybe he can knock off the rust. Well, it's been another month, like Casey said. And so now you're talking about, oh, well, he's got to knock off the rust again. We can't be knocking off the rust 10 weeks into the season, man. We can't. That's not a winning formula. So at least if you had Jacoby, you could say, well, somebody can play quarterback competent.
I would argue that I think they still believe that DTR can be that. I don't know when. I don't know when, but I do think they still believe. I mean, they had that kind of faith that they moved on from Josh Dobbs, and I still think if you start DTR, and I'll even make a case for it here in a little bit. I think if you start DTR, he doesn't look like he did last time, because in my mind, and we're doing this on Tuesday, so if you're watching this on Wednesday or something like that, I legitimately, if he's not playing, they need to do what they did last week and rule him out tomorrow on Wednesday.
Agreed. If
Watson's not playing, rule him out. And I think they gave you a little bit of an inkling when they would not commit to PJ Walker either. Mm-hmm. They made that very clear. Like, he was like, well, you know what I mean? Like, and so I don't know. I'll make that case here in a minute, but I'm with you, man, because I'm just so frustrated. And I tweeted this out, and I've also, like, I'm now to the point where I'm like, I just don't get on social media because it's just if you like it, you go for it. I will not knock a single person, but for me, my experience on it is garbage. So I personally am not going to partake in it. And I'll say some things here and there. I just have to mute tweets because, like, you can't even say anything without being told how stupid you are. I'm just so incredibly frustrated that this is a contending roster outside of the most important position in the game. And that's the problem. It's outside of one position, and that position is the most important in the game. Because go look at the efficiency numbers for Browns quarterbacks, Watson, PJ, and DTR. Go look at them. EPA, bottom 2 in the league. They might even be bottom now. I don't know. I haven't seen the updated EPA numbers because I was a little depressed and didn't want to look at them. But they're 4-3. Very, very easily could be 6-1 with that level of quarterback play, because you still almost beat Seattle. You were 3 yards from probably icing it because, well, maybe not. They would need a couple more first, but they were close. If they could have got a couple more first downs, they probably could have ran a lot of clock and then it makes the job. Well, and then, then it's not them getting the ball at nearly midfield because of the pick, things like that. So you absolutely should be 5-2. A bad interception or fumble in Pittsburgh from winning that game too. So you take away one of those defensive touchdowns for the Steelers, you're 6-1 with this quarterback play. I'm not even talking about if we were getting good quarterback play. I'm saying that, like, and that tells you what this roster is. That's my problem. That's why I'm so furious. And that's why I'm also pissed about all this blame that Kevin Stefanski's getting, because he is the head coach 100%. He gets no credit when they win and all the credit when they lose. Hell, when he's been winning lately, they've been calling for his job after it. We even made a joke on this program right here that if he won against Seattle, that he would be fired by Twitter on Tuesday, like by the time we came back. And yeah, I think it would have happened. The way that game had almost, if it had ended in a positive light and they had won, they'd have been like, man, he tried, what I'm saying. But
you get would go outside pretty quick.
Huh? Yeah.
Cute is the buzzword.
Cute. Yeah, cute. They I was watching one game at 1:00 and an announcer was like, "Oh, got too cute on that play," and it was like the dude fumbled a shovel pass, and they were like, that was too cute." I'm like, wow, do people know what these buzzwords actually mean? But I go out here and I look at this game, and this is where I want to get into the kind of some of this this. What? No, what? We're just.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to share this yet, but I just wanted to say Kevin Stefanski used to have color in his beard when he first got to Cleveland. And man, just to your point about him getting all the blame when they lose and none of the credit when they win. This job has aged him, man. Like I posted this picture yesterday because I was talking about the trade deadline, and I was like, man, Kevin looks like a completely different person. Like if you see, I'll find a new picture of Kevin to share. I just want to, I didn't mean to share that while you're mid sentence, so sorry about that.
No,
but
you're fine.
I just wanted to say, man, it's crazy the blame that he takes.
Dude is aging like a president.
That he's obviously under because of this job.
Yeah, and like we get it, like you said, he's aging like a president, and that's kind of true, man. Dude, I told you that. It reminded me of President Obama. When President Obama went into the office, his hair was jet black, and he didn't even get through his first term, and it was jet gray. Like it was very clear. Like it's the same thing. It's the same thing. About 3 years. It took about 3 years. Like it's like, oh wait, okay, my bad. But yeah, no, like Kevin Stefanski called a hell of a game offensively. A hell of a game. And a lot of people are going to look to that last play and say, no, he couldn't have called a heck of a game. Because they should have ran the ball. And what I'll say about this is what I'll say. I am of the you should have ran the ball on that play. I do believe that. I'm not a run the damn ball, Kevin. I'm not that. There's a lot. You can't run the ball when you're only getting 2 yards. Top 10 reasons not to fire Kevin Stefanski.
Can't wait.
Tomorrow night.
See you at 10.
We will see you at 10, Roger. I'm excited for the top 10 reasons not to fire Kevin Stefanski. But you know, I thought he should have ran it there, but there were open dudes. Like there were open dudes. PJ Walker. I don't even actually, when you watch that play from the all 22 and you zoom out, I actually don't even hate that read other than the fact Jamal Adams makes a crazy athletic play to, what do they tell you? If you can't get to the quarterback, disrupt the throwing lanes. And that's what he did with his head. No, I don't think he meant to do it with his head, but he did clearly jump up to try to stop it, and he did. So it was a great play. Now, would I have liked him to go to Ford, who had nobody anywhere close to him? Yes. Would I have liked David Njoku, who had nobody close to him? Yes. Would I have preferred he just ran the damn thing? Yes. And I'm talking about PJ Walker running for the first down. Yes, all of that. And do I believe that running the ball there, they would have probably got the first down? I do think so, because they at that point were imposing their will to Seattle's defensive line with their offensive line. For once, this quote unquote elite offensive line actually was. It was an elite offensive line on Seattle. It hadn't been really all year, but it really was. They did go out there. They did take it to it. He called a hell of a game. He had Kareem Hunt on one leg. He had Jerome Ford on one ankle. He had Pierre Strong. They ran for what, like $160 with that. And, you know, DeJuan Jones missed a lot of that game. Jed Wills was on one ankle. And outside of the quarterback play, the offense was as good as the talent would have allowed it. It was great. And the quarterback was dog shit. And the point is, stop looking for an easy scapegoat. Whenever something, it's Kevin, he's terrible. What perfect play would help PJ Walker in the fact that only 63% of his passes are even catchable? Those 63% of his passes are catchable, but yeah, it's Kevin calling a bad game. I did not like that final play call, but Kevin is a really good coach, had a great offensive line or offensive game plan, and he is not the problem. Quarterback play is. Is it his job to figure that out? Sure, but he can only work with what he's got. And right now, he's really backed into a corner. And unfortunately, he's going to be the scapegoat if this season goes shit. But he's not the problem. You can go debate a wall, suck my ass. I'll let you guys respond, and then I'll get to the comments.
Yeah, I think I'd love to know where the show comes out on that. The 3rd and 3 is the talking point of all of it. So I want to ask you first, Casey. What do you think? Your 3rd and 3, what do you think of the play call? Or would you have done something different?
Well, 3rd and 3 historically for Kevin Stefanski has been a passing down. They complete 57% of those, which is like 8% higher than league average throwing on 3rd and 3. Well, we don't know is in practice, was that a go-to play? Was that something they just felt super good about and he was throwing it well in practice? They just didn't have Jamal Adams, bopping it off his head in the playbook. But you got to think that the time. I don't get the timeout that he called right before that. But even if you run it, the clock's going to stop with a 2-minute warning because it was 2 minutes and 4 seconds. So I get the theory that if you throw it, the clock's going to stop either way, whether you throw it or you run it. They thought they might have some cheap, easy yards right there. And of course, hindsight, you're like, yeah, you should have ran it there because, and this is crazy because I love Kareem Hunt, but people have turned me into a Kareem Hunt hater this week because everyone just acts like that was, if you hand it to Kareem, it's 100%. Not true, my man. Dude's averaging 3.9 a carry. He was averaged the least of all 3 running backs, and he had a good game. And I like what Kareem Hunt brings at this stage in his career in certain areas, short yardage, third downs. There's a place for Kareem Hunt. But I can't just also be like, there's a no-brainer. You hand it to, if anything, I'm handing it to Strong. Yes. Like if I had, you know what I mean? But I get the methodology, but it didn't work. So it's going to look like a boneheaded play. Yep. Go ahead. I'll let you get back to it, Nick, and then I'll volley.
Oh, yeah. I don't want to be results oriented, right? When you look back at it and you say there's 2 guys open on this play, the pass should have worked. I think when you've got guys open, the scheme worked, the play worked, the execution did.
Yes.
The execution, and so I am a process over results because if your process is right more often than not, eventually the results will get there too. So I'm not going to hate the play call to pass. However, I do think that the Browns were having success running the ball, and I think in that situation, if the worst case scenario in that situation to me is a turnover, right? Because even if you get 2 yards and you decide to punt it, you're still going to make Seattle drive the length of the field rather than getting the ball at midfield and they can just go right. Like I thought originally they were going to kick a field goal and the defense really collapsed there and they just score the touchdown and they win. And so that's a different conversation. But I just think if you run the ball there, you at least give yourself I get you're a little buried, you're buried a little deeper, but say you get like a yard and a half, you give yourself a decision. You're like, well, we could run it again. We could try just to pick up because if you run it there, you get to the 2-minute warning. And then if you run it again, you pick it up. The Seattle only has one more timeout, right? So you really put them in a tight situation. You can eat a lot of so I would have liked to run it there because I feel like the disaster scenario is exactly what happened, is a turnover. And PJ Walker has shown that he is mightily turnover prone. The Browns continually, I think last week's game was the first time they won over the turnover battle. Was that, Casey? I believe that was your stat.
Yes, sir.
Against the Colts. Yeah.
Yeah. That was, Yeah. So that was the first time they won turnover. So that's pretty bad. So I would have liked to run the ball. However, not going to, you can't look at me straight in the face and say 2 guys are open. That's a bad call. I can't accept that. And so I thought Stefanski coached his ass off. I think he put them in position to beat. That's a hard place to win. That's a good team. That's a team, by the way, that has been very good against the run. And the Browns, even with PJ Walker, practice squad quarterback, I found a lot of success. Pierre Strong, man, hats off to him. I was pretty excited. He's from the same draft class as Jerome Ford. The Patriots actually took Pierre Strong earlier, I think a round earlier than, and Bill just, gave him to the Browns for an active game or 2 of, oh God, I can't remember the name of the tackle.
Tyrone Wheatley.
Thank you. Which is all value for the Browns, right? Because Wheatley hasn't done anything for the Patriots, and now it looks like Strong could be definitely a contributor. So
Strong has his size for a dude that explosive and fast is, his contact balance is like a little you would expect it to be a little bit better when you're that big of a back, but he's got better vision than the other 2 by a long shot. Like there was only one person since Nick Chubb left that has been able to find more than one cutback lane, and that was Pierre Strong on Sunday.
And I'm sorry, Casey, I didn't mean to steal your thunder. I just wanted to weigh in on the 3rd and 3. So by all means, friend.
My last thing about the 3rd and 3, man, I grew up with my hand in the dirt. I'll always choose to run. But I get the method. I get the method. I get what he's going for, because there were answers there.
Yep.
But sometimes you have to understand your personnel. And
Yes.
PJ Walker has been very volatile. Like, he's not afraid to stand back in the pocket and take a shot to deliver a ball, but he will put the ball in harm's way.
Mhm.
He leads the league in 7.7% of his passes are turnover worthy.
Yeah.
That's not bueno, my man. So sometimes you have to understand your personnel. But I want to talk about what Stefanski did early in the game that really they were down 14-0. Quick, on the road in Seattle, a hostile place, and he literally schemed them down the field. Just screen, fake smoke screen, double fake, tight end leak. Like, he literally emptied the screen playbook just to manufacture a drive and get them on the board. And that seemed to right everything. That seemed to really slow the momentum up. And because that game was that close to getting out of hand. When you're down 14-0 with a third string quarterback in Seattle in the first quarter, like, that's a recipe for disaster. He literally he slowed it down. I've seen him do this with Baker before too, and just scheme them and got them in the end zone, got something nice and safe, got them in the end zone, and they were able to get it going. And then they were able to turn it into their style of game.
Mm-hmm.
But I also say this. Yeah, it sucks that they couldn't pull that game out. But the reason I'm not like crazy down about it is that wasn't a game you were supposed to win from Jump Street. That isn't a game. Vegas didn't have you favored. I'm sure Jacob didn't pick them to win. That's what I'm saying. There wasn't a huge expectation to go on the road and win that game, and you let it get away. And it's a game you should have won. But the week before, you won a game you probably shouldn't have expected to win. You didn't deserve to win against the Colts. It evens itself out. But now you put yourself back in his position. As long as you take care of business against the teams you're supposed to beat, a.k.a. this weekend against Arizona, everything's fine. It wasn't a plain hitting the mountain moment losing to Seattle in Seattle. That's a good football team. And we'll get to see it this week against the Ravens, how good they are. If the Ravens blow their doors off, I'll recant my statement and say either the Ravens are that good or Seattle's that bad, one or the other. But I think they'll fare pretty well. But the reason I'm not down on Stefanski is we're always going to be able to look back in hindsight and pick apart one or two plays. No coach is perfect. Do you understand in San Francisco they're calling for Kyle Shanahan? That's what their fans are doing. Come on, dude. Like, that's the way it's the nature of fans. Fan is short for fanatic. You got to remember that. You know what I mean? Like, settle down, man. It's we're 4-3. We're through the toughest stretch of our schedule.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Now, here's my mentality is this. You have to beat Arizona, and you have to win one of the next two games against Pittsburgh or Baltimore. If you do that and you get to 6-4 after 10 games, then that's exactly where you need to be. So all is not lost. Yeah, it sucked we couldn't pull it out. We had that game. We gave it away. But that's something else about this team is they're still learning how to close out games. And that's both sides of the ball. People focus on the offense. That's 3 games in a row where the defense at the very end of games has faltered. And I love me some Jim Schwartz, but let's call it like it is, man. If they don't miss that field goal in San Francisco, we're having a different conversations about the defense because they went right down the field on them. Gardner Minshew took them right down the field on their final drive. And then what happened this week, And I know they're like, it came off a turnover. It was still 60 yards, man. They had to go 60 yards, and they did it. You know what I mean? Like, something needs to change there as well. So this is a team that needs to learn how to close out games on both sides of the ball.
I mean, like, Drew, we appreciate you so much, my friend, for the super like. But yeah, no, I don't care. Put Jarvis out there, let him sling it. It can't be much worse.
I'll tell you what, I used to love, and thank you for the donation, Drew. We really appreciate you, friend. We appreciate all of you that have been here. It's like, despite the good and the bad, we're still growing steadily. You're all here. So thank you to everybody. But that's one of the things I'll miss most is when the Browns had Jarvis and Odell, Stefanski always schemed up those wide receiver passes. And I loved that wrinkle. That was so much fun. But
I tried to do it one time with Amari Cooper and was like, whoa.
that was a year ago tonight.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
Wow.
That's funny.
It is truly, when you think about it, the Browns have not been blown out this year, which is a credit to them.
Yeah,
and to go from being down 14-0 to getting back and taking the lead and holding it there till the end, that was impressive to me. I think Kevin Stefanski, man, he's just got to feel, he's like, I always have to just fight this uphill battle every season. It's just like and so I think it's a credit to him, and it's a credit, like the Browns being 4-3 right now, despite all the adversity that they have faced thus far, is impressive to me. I wish it was 5-2, but you look at those games. I mean, there's the 49ers game could have gone either way. The Colts game could have gone either way. The Seahawks game could have gone either way. The Pittsburgh Steelers game could have gone either way. There's so many that are right there. So fine, to be 4-3, you're still right there, and I can accept that. You have to beat Arizona. You have to. That is must. It's a must win to me. You have to beat Arizona because you got Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Pittsburgh beyond that, and those are going to be tight, tough games. Especially with the way Baltimore looks, because man,
I would say, Nick, they have been blown out by Baltimore, but
okay. So to my credit, I just put it right out of my brain. I was there for that game. You were too.
I was. One last thing on the thing about Stefanski, and you guys kind of talked about it, and there was a comment over here. I wanted to highlight it because it was what I was going to say. The comment I'd say Stefanski deserves some credit for not letting the game get away from them. Yeah, man, they go out there and play hard for him. So for everybody, like, there's always been this mantra, like they don't like playing for Kevin Stefanski. He's always losing the locker room, this, that, and the other. No, I don't think that's the case this year. Rather, you want to argue that the last couple of years or whatnot. I can see that. I think there's a lot of like weird feelings going around about Watson, but overall, I think the rest of the team is really bought in. I think the defense is bought all the way in to Jim Schwartz and what he's doing. And I think the offense is responding. You know, I really enjoyed the usage of David Njoku on Sunday. I really enjoyed that. I really thought that was like, and of course, and Pierre Strong had a couple good screens. You're right, though. Listen, man, dude just killed Seattle in the screen game. My favorite screen, I think, is actually the Pierre Strong one because they moved the pocket for PJ, and it looks like he's booting out. He stops, he turns back, and as soon as he throws to Pierre Strong, which he almost screwed up because he threw it way too low, but it was so open that Pierre Strong is able to essentially pick it off the turf, turn, and get like 30 yards, which was like, it just showed you like the creativity and the creativity of Kevin Stefanski that really helped him get this job. Like that's the kind of things that he has done throughout his tenure to make it happen. My thing is just, he has not had a quarterback, in my opinion. And Baker was really good. I shouldn't say that. Since 2020, he hasn't had a quality quarterback because Baker was good. Baker was borderline elite down the stretch in 2020. He was. And I think a lot of that was Kevin Stefanski putting him in a position to succeed. And I think Baker bought in. I think Baker bought into what Stefanski was teaching. And then the injury, a little bit of bad blood, I think, with the Odell and stuff kind of bubbled up, and then it just kind of the train fell off, and then he gets Brissett, who's a career backup, really never been all that great, and Jacoby Brissett gets the best out of him, and then now he's in a spot where we thought he had it. We thought this year we were going to see what Kevin Stefanski could do with a quarterback, and it continues. Excuse me. It continues to come back to me, the idea that like, that is not the problem right now. Like, it's not the problem. It's not Stefanski's play calling. It's not his. What is it? What is this magical fix, this magical thing that you think he should be doing, that Stefanski should be doing? Because it's like you said, Casey, it's like everybody says, well, Kareem Hunt should have been carrying the ball in the fourth quarter. Well, he wasn't even averaging 4 yards a carry. Do I think he still should have gotten probably a carry in the fourth quarter? Sure. But Jerome Ford and Pierre Strong overall, especially Pierre Strong, I think they were playing better than Kareem Hunt. And I think Kareem Hunt had some very nice runs, and they needed Kareem Hunt out there. What he did in that game was very important to them almost winning, to their offensive success. But it's like, I don't see this, like, everybody that says they want to fire him, that he's awful, he's all this, cannot show me the thing he should be doing. Because that's my thing. I'll show you why he shouldn't be fired, and why I think he is a good coach. And I'll show it to you, but you're not telling me what it is that he's not doing. And every coach is going to botch clock management from time to time. Every coach is going to call a play that the absolute one thing you couldn't have happen was an interception, and it's what happened on that play.
Off the helmet. Like, what a bizarre
what are the
way.
odds? Right? It's what? If he throws it, maybe like a foot to the left, it's in Amari Cooper's breadbasket, and it's the greatest play of all time. Like, it's just, I get that aspect of it, because I was even the person saying run the ball. Like, I even said that. But I admitted, like, the more I looked at it, and when I watched the All-22, I'm like, yeah, no, I see what you saw. And I even see what PJ saw. Not just the play caller, but I saw what PJ saw. And it just, Jamal Adams made a hell of a play. And it's captain hindsight, hindsight's 2020, you say it. But it's just like, I don't think they're in the position to go 5-2 in Seattle without Kevin Stefanski. Like, I don't know. Like, who with their practice squad quarterback beats San Francisco in the Cleveland Browns era? Because everybody say, well, the Browns have never had a good coach, but we should bring in a guy like Derek Bieniemy, or Jim Schwartz should be the head coach. Do you know what Jim Schwartz's record was as a head coach in the NFL? Because if you do, then you should shut the hell up.
It was real bad.
It was
real bad.
And it's like, in all the coaches that except for Freddie Kitchens, all the coaches the Browns hired were the top coordinators. It's not like they were going, like, except Mike Pettin thing was weird too. But like Mike Pettin and Freddie Kitchens, like Hugh Jackson.
He might have been the best of them. Pettin, honestly, the only success beyond it.
But Pettin was the one that, like, they tried to get a couple of guys and couldn't get him, and then they went to Pettin. Like, that's
the fifth option.
Yeah, he was like their fifth option, and he may have been the best coach not named Kevin Stefanski since 1999, which is hilarious. But like, everybody wanted Hugh Jackson. Like, people remind us how bad Hugh was, but everybody wanted it. Like,
they gave him a standing ovation when Hugh Jackson entered the Browns facility. They acted like they won the lottery when that guy walked through the door.
Those guys, if we brought them in right now, got rid of Kevin and brought in a guy like that, they beat San Francisco. Like, that's my point. Like, we all want an easy scapegoat. And I can tell you what that scapegoat is. It's the fucking quarterback.
It's like PJ
Put
Walker.
blame where it's deserved. Put it where it's.
I don't know what PJ Walker's average depth of target is, but let's just be honest. He cannot throw down the field with any regularity or any true accuracy at all right now. And the fact that you got almost 250 yards passing out of PJ against the Seahawks when they had every reason to just they were up 14-0, right? The Seahawks should have run away with that game. I objected,
I thought they were.
I thought they were, right? And so the fact that Kevin adapted to the situation, like you both said, got this screen game going, got a little confidence going, a little juice going, and then they come back and take the lead. Like, I don't think anybody has done more with less this year than what Kevin Stefanski has at the quarterback position. Because every metric you look at in quarterback play, the Browns are at the bottom left terrible section of the chart. Nobody else is even close to where they're at. And you're looking at a 4-3 team that we're saying could have easily been 5-2. Like, how that should speak to for itself. And I don't want to, it takes both sides of the ball to win football games. Like you're coming off a Colts game where you scored 39 points. And I understand some of those were defensive scoring, but overall, you are scoring points. You're still offensively having some success and doing so with, I mean, I can't think of any bigger credit to Kevin Stefanski than what he's doing, because I don't understand how you can look at the quarterback play all the other teams are getting, and now it's getting murky now. Quarterback injuries are piling up. Kirk Cousins just tore his Achilles. You've got whatever is going on for the New York Giants, and they're on their third quarterback. It's a weird year for quarterback play. But despite all of that, the Browns are somehow still far worse than everybody. So I just think that where and that's what I think that's why I felt so passionately about the trade deadline today, because more than anyone, Kevin Stefanski, it's like Ken Carman says this all the time. If the Browns don't have a successful season, ownership will more than likely give fan bases their pound of flesh. And that pound of flesh is Kevin Stefanski. And I just feel like he has done so much with such adversity for the Browns that I don't feel like, as it currently stands, I don't feel like Kevin Stefanski deserves to be fired. And if he was to get fired, I'd be really upset about it, because, man, if it, like Jacob, like you were saying, it finally felt like we were going to see what Kevin Stefanski really could get in his bag with quarterback play, really open things up, get creative, really show off, right? And of course that doesn't happen. And poor Kevin, honestly, poor Kevin. So it's like, I just hope he gets the chance. I don't know if Deshaun's going to get healthy this year. I don't know what they're going to do, or maybe it will be. I know I just want to make clear. I haven't given up on DTR, right? I'm just saying what we saw last time, that's not quarterback play that you're going to win with. Maybe he can be a guy. Maybe he ends up starting on Sunday and he shows some improvement from his first start, right? He's just made his first start against what is now the best defense in the NFL. So I'm hardly going to blame that situation on DTR and say, oh, he's never going to be good, because he could be. So I don't know if, like, as we get a little later in the show, if you guys want to shift to, like, where are you at? Because Jacob, I know you talked about this a little bit. Are you making the case for DTR to start on Sunday?
I'll make that case, but I think Casey, you look like you had something.
Oh, I'm sorry, Casey.
I just want to say, I'll say a couple statements and then I'll hop off Stefanski's jock. If he were to be fired, he'd be unemployed for about 15 minutes.
Agreed.
Like, around the league, it's I know from the fan base, it seems like there's all this fire and brimstone when it comes to him. He's respected around the league for his ability to craft stuff up. The one thing that I take from this last game is he kind of figured out how to manufacture a yak. This team has been hurting for yards after the catch, and you saw it this week. And the biggest reason is David Njoku. Njoku was a focal point. I just pray that they don't get away from it even when they switch quarterbacks. And I get why he should be the focal point when you have a backup quarterback, a good safety blanket, and Njoku's a perfect candidate to catch something shallow and turn upfield and get serious yards. And that's exactly what he did on Sunday. So I just hope that the personnel usage from that standpoint kind of stays in line whenever they do shift to either DTR or when Watson is healthy.
So I'll say what I got to say about DTR, because Casey, I know you. We've talked about it too. So I know you have some thoughts on DTR going forward as well. So I'll start with that, and we'll kind of wrap this thing up, as we've been screaming at you guys for long enough now. Here's the biggest thing for me is I thought, and we talked about this last week, and then Casey and I, our show live, we preview the games 9 p.m. on the PSF app, so you can check us out off the leash over there. 9 p.m. on Friday. We'll also be doing a watch along for the entire game. Are we on Sunday? Yeah, we're on Sunday. Yeah,
yes, sir. We're on this Sunday. Get the app, Pro Sports Fans.
Okay.
Yeah, download the Pro Sports Fan, the PSF app, and we'll be live streaming a watch party for the entirety of Sunday's game. I thought PJ Walker was going to be better going into this game, because he definitively knew all week he was the starter. And I thought, at least for a lot of that game, that he was better. I wouldn't call he was fine. I think he was fine for a lot of that game. He still made some boneheaded moves that led to turnovers and then, things like that. But I thought he was better. So I thought that idea that I had and said, I thought that was accurate. I thought, he was better, which is why I think if Watson's not playing and you're not 100% that he's going to play, I would just, it's a one-win Arizona team. And I'm not trying to say they can't lose to Arizona, because they can, but if he's not 100%, just shelve him for right now. Just shelve him for right now and just give it to DTR. And my argument for that, it starts in a spot where we really, it's going to start where because it can't be worse. That's part of what I look at, and I think he has a higher ceiling. And I think ultimately, Casey, you said this a million times over about PJ Walker, was he had a floor. Like, we knew where the floor was, and we knew the ceiling was relatively low, but we knew he was like here. Whereas with DTR, he could be up here or down below. We didn't know. And so that's why they had to turn to PJ Walker. I have no problem with PJ essentially starting the last 3 games. I know obviously Watson started the Colts game. But I do think when you look at that and you look at what he has been, you now have 3 games, a 3-game sample size of, this is one of the worst quarterbacks efficiency wise right now, or really anything wise, going into this. And I thought he used his legs a little bit in this game. That was awesome. It's like, wow, it's crazy that a good athlete running for yardage could work. And for me, if you are now, because that makes me think that it was coached. Some of that running was coached. Some of it was like, hey, you're a good enough athlete. There's some yardage. You need to, at times, take this. Because I think DTR is a better runner than PJ Walker. So if that's the case, if they're trying to coach some of that, if they're trying to run some of the zone reads and the RPOs and the inside zones and all of these things where you use the threat of your quarterback, I think DTR is a bigger threat in that sense. I think DTR is not afraid to push it downfield. Is he super accurate downfield? Left to be said. Left to be said. But I will point out what Nick said. Peter Walker's not even pushing it. Like it doesn't. Like I don't know what the numbers are, because in terms of him trying to throw the ball like 15 or more yards, but it feels like I could probably count it on one hand from each game. Like that's where I feel like, and like I get it. Like I think part of it is he's trying not to make the turnover throw that he has been making, because he's made so many of them and he knows it's cost him, that sort of thing. But I will say, even in that game where DTR, like, he still wasn't scared to sling the ball. I mean, he was throwing picks and throwing balls at people's feet and stuff, but DTR was like, he had enough still belief in himself that he would throw the ball. So I think that DTR has a higher ceiling. We don't need high floor right now for this game. This is a game that you can put him out against an opponent you are better than. You are better than the Arizona Cardinals. You can get him out there. You can have Cedric Tillman out there with DPJ gone, which, thank you, DPJ. I really appreciate all the memories. I really do. I said it on Twitter. I wish him nothing but the best. I'm glad he's going home to play for a contender in his hometown. That's freaking awesome, man. That is freaking awesome. And I will never forget. He's got it. The rookie from Michigan's got it with 7 seconds to go. I'll never forget it. Because that was the, like, hey, DPJ could play, like, and of course he only had like 19 catches as a rookie, but he ended up really
almost 800 yards or over 800 yards last year.
Yeah, with bad quarterback play, or with a backup quarterback in Jacoby Brissett and some bad quarterback play from Deshaun Watson. But I think that there is a really nice high ceiling with DTR, and you were winning with a dude turning the ball over a ton. So why not go for the guy that has the higher ceiling? And that ultimately is why I would go DTR this week.
I think it comes down, because I do agree. I think DTR has a higher ceiling. I put it on Stefanski to give him his floor. I think that you have to game plan to get his floor, something level.
Yeah.
And we're 7 games in. The Browns have turned the ball over 17 times. That leads the NFL. I don't like, for me, at this point, I think we should at least expect 2 turnovers a game. There's been nothing to tell us any different. We need the defense to pick up some of that slack and try to even that out. So maybe we finish even one of these weeks. But but DTR, but it comes down for me. That does come down to Stefanski for me. You have to be able to game plan for DTR if you think you have a feel for it, because we saw the Baltimore game. And there's so many reasons why that was screwed up, because they're like, oh, it was DTR playing with Deshaun Watson's game plan. But even if it was Watson's game plan, it would have been god awful, because he had no arm and they were chucking it deep. Like, it just didn't make sense. but I need to see a lot of moving the pocket. I need RPOs. I need you to let him be an athlete on the edge and really threaten the line of scrimmage, even if you're going to dump off. I need quick, easy stuff to David Njoku. I need you to get the screen game going. I need all those components if you're going to play DTR. Don't put him out there and just hang him out to dry. Like, you really have to put the guardrails on and kind of just manufacture stuff. And then who knows, after he gets in the field of the game, maybe he's able to let loose. He does have a bigger arm.
Mm-hmm.
But until you start hitting those plays, I'll also say this: the Browns have only had 17 pass plays of over 20 yards this year. That's not the lowest in the league, but it's right there.
Hmm.
They need to start opening things up. So defenses have to respect you and have to guard every blade of grass. Right now, they're able to condense everything down, and then you're stuck in that phone booth area, which Stefanski's comfortable calling an offense like that. He's done it for years, but we need to see another dynamic. And you have Marquise Goodwin, you have Elijah Moore, you have people that you need to be able to sneak to the second level. We'll see if Cedric Tillman can be one of those guys, because he's comfortable with DTR. So if DTR does get to start, and this is a week for Cedric Tillman to get some major run, they already have like an on-field relationship from the preseason. So I wouldn't be opposed to it, just because you need to beat Arizona. And you don't have, if those are your two quarterbacks available, I feel comfortable putting either one of them out, but it has to be game planned for specifically.
Mm-hmm.
So, like Jacob said, if Watson can't go, rule him out now and just put your blinders on and just focus on how do you get the most out of X quarterback, whether it's DTR or it's PJ Walker.
There's a lot of things I think that are going in DTR's direction right now. First of all, Kevin Stefanski's been very quick to name PJ Walker the backup if Deshaun Watson can't start until this week. I think he's sick and tired of turnovers and reading between the lines. Like, PJ Walker's been a turnover machine. So to me, I think PJ at this point, we agreed as a show that the Browns have been winning despite him. Right. So that's not an answer to me. That's not a viable strategy or solution. You drafted Dorian so that hopefully he's going to be that competent backup in the future. I feel like when you're playing a team that you're significantly more talented than, getting your rookie that type of game experience is really valuable and important. Last time so I think in hindsight, you look at the Ravens and you say, well, their defense is currently the best in the NFL. So when Dorian goes out there, that's about as tough of a situation, especially when clearly it wasn't his game plan. So you just had your strongest running game since Nick Chubb went out, right? So I'm expecting that to continue. You just had some of your strongest offensive line play since really of the season. So I'm thinking that the supporting cast around Dorian would be far stronger. And I'm thinking that Kevin would tailor more. Like, we saw no Dorian runs when he started last time. I think he had very few. Like, let him use his athleticism. Let the run game work for you. And you need a guy that's going to at least threaten, because Dorian was still slinging it against the Ravens. He didn't have a lot of success, but at least he was trying, right? PJ's not even attempting it. And so at that point, to me, I'm looking at the future. I'm looking at both, and I'm saying, okay, maybe at this point, PJ's giving you 3 games, and you're saying this guy is not in our future plans. Like, he could have played himself, I feel like, into being a longer term option on the Browns roster. I don't think he's going to be here. So Dorian will be. You assume that because it's on the rookie deal. So why not? Why not let him go out there? Because could it be worse? If it's really worse, if Dorian throws 2 picks immediately, they could still go to PJ Walker. I feel like it's at least worth the shot, considering that everything around you has been improved and that Kevin he's already shown you that he can adapt his play calling to PJ Walker. So I think that Ravens game was just an abomination, and that Kevin would tailor the game plan around Dorian, and that he could have some success. And that would be really encouraging for both now and the future. So why not go to Dorian? I think I didn't know we were going to go down this road, but I honestly kind of like it, because when you look at what PJ Walker's done, there's nothing that you say, I'm not trying to be mean to the guy, but there's nothing there that you say, like, we need PJ Walker to be on the field because he's really made one big throw per game that they desperately needed him to make to keep them in it. So yeah, I'm in. Show stance. I think we're official. Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Let's go. If Deshaun's not healthy, because who knows, we got to play that game again.
I just want to console Roger. He's having a complete meltdown over Ohio State being number 1 in the college football playoff rankings. And it's okay, buddy. It's okay. It's okay. It'll be okay. We love you. It'll be okay. I just wanted to say that.
I don't know what's going to happen with all of that. It seems like every day there's a new piece of news that breaks. Like now, is it Western Michigan? Is that that the news came out today that I'm not even sure. I
don't read the news. Anyway,
regardless,
I think that's it.
I think this has been a great summary of why Kevin Stefanski is not the problem. And so hopefully it's on full display that Kevin's just going to keep creating offense with backup quarterbacks. That's the plan.
That's his lot in life.
With that being said, this has been episode 126. Yeah, 126 of the Barking Brown Show. New intro and logo coming next week. And Jacob and I, hot sauce and chip, coming soon. We're figuring that out. Sorry, I know we've been delayed. Lots of stuff going on. But Nick, he's Jacob. That's Casey. Go Browns.
I don't even have anything.